Happy Monday morning, everyone. I'm Rich Swerbinsky with the Mortgage Collaborative here once again with the Week 5 edition of Monday Mortgage Quarterback, our weekly podcast where we go through the three biggest NFL games of the week and ask six lender members of ours representing the six cities involved in those three big NFL games from the day prior to come on and give us a little fan insight about the game from the day before and also give us a little insight into the local housing markets that they're representing. And man, just in general, what a sports weekend. Holy crap. MLB playoffs, an unbelievable heavyweight title fight, one of the most memorable and wild college football Saturdays I can ever remember. And then, of course, the NFL action from yesterday that we are here to discuss today. Some other highlights in the NFL before we get into the three games we're going to discuss. The beleaguered Lions and Jags fall to 0-5, both franchises. A ton of just missed extra points and field goals, including, I think, potentially game-winning field goals in the Packers-Bengals game. Steelers and Eagles with really season-saving wins in a lot of ways yesterday. The Rams taking care of the Seahawks on Thursday night. Russell Wilson going down with an injury. And the Packers, the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys rolling along, moving to 4-1, all of them jockeying for NFC superiority right now behind a team that we're going to discuss in a little out west in the desert. So with that, let's take some time to introduce our six correspondents this week. And first, representing my hometown and my Cleveland Browns, my friend, President, Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, Jody Hall. Jody, love the Chubb jersey.
Awesome. Happy to be here. I just wish that you could predict what the game results are going to be. And I would like to only attend on winning Mondays. That would be fantastic.
That's the thing, right? We got to secure the correspondence in advance. Ryan Wiebe, this morning, he just came on, our Chiefs guy, not looking inspired, but he made it here. So Ryan, and we'll go there. Ryan Wiebe, who's been on before, president of First Mortgage Direct out of KC. Ryan, good to see you as always, bud.
Rich, my pleasure. It's painful to be here, but I'm thankful for you and the invite. Appreciate it.
Looking much happier in full referee regalia for our podcast listeners. The Director of Residential Lending for Bar Harbor Bank, Jamie Frideris. Jamie, good to see you.
Hey, good morning. It's a little foggy morning. I know most of the games ended on Sunday. The one I'm representing ended very early this morning due to some inclement weather. So struggled to find the jersey. This was the only thing left on the shelf. So we'll go with the ref.
Yeah, the lightning strike that delayed the game. I had a few adult beverages yesterday. The second I saw lightning delay, I'm like, all right, it's time to turn it in and call it a night. But I'm not a Bills fan. So great. Congrats on the win. Representing the unbeaten still Arizona Cardinals, SVP Mortgage Operations, People's Mortgage Company, Katie Klaus. Katie, good to see you again.
Hi, good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
And representing the San Francisco 49ers, the Chief Production Officer for Provident Lending Group, back again, Bill Massey. Bill, good to see you, bud.
Yeah, I think this is some kind of an initiation. I've done this twice. I'm the new guy. I've had to represent twice when they've lost. So I'm wearing black today for a reason.
Provident Lending Group, one of our newest members, based out of the Bay Area. And yeah, we've had Bill on twice after tough losses. So Bill, thanks for being a trooper. And do we have Casey Henderson on from iServe Lending? Casey? No Casey? Well, he's representing the Chargers who beat my Browns. So if anybody's not going to be here, that's a good one to not have on board. So let's start with the Browns Chargers game. And Jody, this was this was game of the year, really material right here. 8 lead changes and a tie. The Browns running attack, just running all up and down the field. Chubb and Hunt, Justin Herbert of the Chargers, 398 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Baker with a really good day. The Browns didn't get one call. If that sounds like sour grapes, that's what you're getting from me. But we were missing 3 of our top 4 defensive ends, our top 3 cornerbacks, and just it was a little too much to overcome. But hell of a game.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely the game of fourth down conversions. It's insane when you take 4 full downs to be able to, and the percentage of time that the Chargers and the Browns were converting on those fourth downs is just amazing. If we were playing this game 2 years ago, I don't think that even with the same personnel, I don't think that we would have seen people that were so aggressive in 4th and 8, 4th and 4. It is completely insane what the Browns and the Chargers are from ambition. And who would have thought if we had 260 yards of rushing that we would be looking at a loss? But our defense is extremely dinged up, and every time that we put numbers up, the Chargers had an answer for it. Questionable calls, despite the obvious. We had that 1 7-point swing. That 7 points needs to go to the officials with the pass interference call. But I don't know if you noticed on the next huge conversion there, Myles Garrett was being held, like jersey pulled out to the side. Everybody could see it, and it wasn't called. But I guess you win some. I haven't seen much of winning on the officiating side, and you lose some. But it definitely was a great game. I said, you hear that when you watch a scary movie, you burn like something like in a 2-hour scary movie, you burn like 400 or 500 calories. I think I burned like 1,000 calories because it was like half scary, half celebration. Cause it was like, yes, yes. And it was like, oh no, like, how did they do that? So it was a game of ups and downs. Definitely, if you're not a Browns fan, it was an amazing game to watch if you're a sports fan.
Well, I hope you're right about that calorie thing, because the fettuccine Alfredo I made yesterday and the IPA consumption, I need about 3 or 4 more of those games to wear that off. But teams that had scored 40 points and committed 0 turnovers prior to that game yesterday were 422-0 in NFL history. It's the first time in the history of the NFL a team has scored more than 40 points, had 0 turnovers, and lost. A little salt in the wound for us Browns fans. But hey, the bright side is we're 3-2. We could easily be 5-0 with wins at LA and Kansas City. The Browns are going to be there at the end, barring horrific injuries, but a tough loss yesterday. So
horrific statistic. If you went 4-1, it's like 72 or 73% chance of making the playoffs. If you're 3-2, it's less than 50%. So it was a pivotal game from a numbers perspective. So hopefully we can continue to prove the numbers wrong. We started off a lot worse last year.
We shall see. Moving our attention to the Sunday nighter last night, very hyped game. Buffalo and Kansas City in Arrowhead, the rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. And just really pretty dominating performance from Buffalo. I didn't see much of the second half. I saw some highlights and read up on it. Weird game. Buffalo really dominated the first half. Should have been up probably more than they were at halftime. And then one of those weird lightning delays delayed things for about an hour after the half. And then it was just, I think, all Bills after that. Jamie, your Buffalo Bills, was a shaky start to the season, losing to a Steeler team that looks pretty average. But since then, Josh Allen, man, he is rolling right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it was, I think your characterization was right. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, as long as I've been a Buffalo Bills fan, you always wish you could end the games by the end of the third quarter, because historically the fourth quarter is, when you give it all back. But, Sean McDermott brought them in. They had a good game plan. They executed on it. I mean, we saw probably a lot of confidence. Josh Allen, he's building on his year from last year. And the confidence he has in hitting those down passes, it's just an exciting time. It brings back the heydays from the 90s when Buffalo Bills, came in with confidence and executed on the confidence. And Sean McDermott, I can't believe he's buying. I think he's getting all his chicken wings paid for in Buffalo right now, with what he's marching the Bills forward on. But it was one of those games where you couldn't sit back and relax, because the power that Mahomes and KC can bring. But I got to believe that most of the AFC, based on the trouncing case he's done over the years, we are pretty happy with the Buffalo Bills result yesterday.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting in the AFC. It's pretty wide open. You had 4 of the AFC heavyweights that faced off yesterday. 2 games where we've started by discussing here. You got Baltimore, obviously. Can't count out totally the Patriots. Somebody's got to come out of the AFC South, but it looks pretty wide open after 5 weeks. And our friend Ryan Wiebe from First Mortgage Direct, as we were talking about pre-show, not time to write the obituary. My guess is that if you look at the Vegas odds to win the AFC and the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are still at the top, and for good reason. They've got the maestro, Mr. Mahomes at the helm, and Andy Reid. But to me, at least in the first half, the offensive line was where I was really disappointed, just as a football fan. They made some pretty aggressive moves to improve the line in the offseason, but really we're having a tough time keeping the Buffalo front off them. Your thoughts as a Chiefs fan about last night and in general as we're 5 weeks down?
Yeah, Rich, they build this offensive line up. They're hyped up, and they're not stopping the run, the defense whatsoever. Mahomes running all over the place, scrambling like crazy. The magic for Patrick, we didn't see it last night. Nowhere, the long ball, the run and gun. He couldn't get anything moving. I think he targeted what our new Josh Gordon wants. That kind of disrupted it. And I apologize for the noise if it's really loud, guys. But more importantly, our defense just looks trash. I mean, there was nothing pretty about the game at all. And the weather didn't help anything. Soaking wet, pouring down. Somehow we got the first half of the game in, and we're sitting under. So I was at the game last night. We're sitting underneath in the walkway, and it is just lightning like crazy. It's pouring down rain. The skies open up. It's like, okay, guys, you have an opportunity here. The skies are opening up. Let's capitalize. And what do they do? Here we go with the picks and the fumbles, and it's been the name of the game all season. Turnovers, right? Our turnovers are just absolutely killing us. So it's not all doom and gloom. I feel that way, but it's not all doom and gloom. We still have the magic. We still have a tremendous offense. If we can get this defense to kind of pick it up and maybe Sorensen not get burned 4 times in a row, there's still a prayer. But I mean, Jody, the statistic you didn't tell me is, what if they're 2-3? What's the percentage there of going to the playoffs? Like 4%, 7%? I mean, can I at least get a 10% on it?
I think you'll be all right.
I hope so. We need some of this Mahomes magic to come back. It's still fun to watch, and the city's still vibrant and alive with all the Mahomes magic, and we'll see if we can't string some wins together here.
NFL city regular season, it's like the mortgage industry. It's very much a roller coaster, and the feelings like and as the opposite end of the spectrum, our podcast listeners, Katie Klaus from People's Mortgage, smiling ear to ear for the first 14 minutes of the program, and for good reason. Her Arizona Cardinals 5-0. We've been talking about their offense all year, but yesterday it was the defense. My God, 4 fourth down stops. All in just huge critical parts of the game. Just a very thorough defensive performance, and really looked like a team and a defense that was kind of sick of hearing about the offense all year, because they played great yesterday. And the Cardinals they looked like a winning team. Every time there was a big play to be made, they made it, including really incredible, ultimately game-winning touchdown catch by DeAndre Hopkins on a good throw from Kyler, who had another good game. And Katie, your Cardinals, they're rolling.
Yeah, first time since 1974 they've had a 5-0 start. So literally that was like in my whole lifetime, I've never seen that. So it was pretty exciting. There were a few offensive plays that were not flashy. I was watching at the bar, and Kyler kept going for like the long pass, and he missed a couple real short ones. And this guy at the bar was like, my great grandson could have thrown a better pass than that. So wasn't all pretty for us yesterday, but yeah, the defense is definitely the story. And I even think we got lucky there. I mean, they had a huge stop on the goal line. And I really think that if there was a more experienced player carrying that ball, all we had to do was reach out, and the Niners would have had a touchdown. It could have been a totally different game, but they ended up it was ugly. It wasn't very pretty, but they ended up pulling out the win. And at the end, like you said, there was a great catch by Hopkins that kind of shut him out. And I'm not happy with the way it looked, but I'm happy with being 5-0. Now I know that we got to play the Browns next week. I won't even have to worry about watching it. We'll just assume
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. And Browns with a tough game coming up, and 3-3 if they lose. So you don't want to get too far behind the 8 ball. And but turning our attention to the Niners, Bill Massey from Provident Lending Group, 3 losses in a row. And unfortunately, you've been on to talk about now 2 of them. Trey Lance gets the start with Jimmy G going down last week with the injury. And I think there was some good, there was some bad. I think it was what you would expect from a guy like Lance that played at a very small school, getting thrown into the deep fryer against a really good Cardinals team. And I think he showed a lot of why they made him such a high pick and traded so much to get up and get him. But it was just really missed opportunities yesterday. They all these 4th down plays and the game of inches, as Katie mentioned, the play at the goal line, just really had to reach the ball out. Had to be frustrating loss as a Niners fan.
Yeah, I think my presentation this morning is in a little bit of a disarray, which is kind of a reflection of the 49ers, actually. Injuries, is the quarterback going to start? Is he not going to start? We're going to put the rookie in. Kittle's out. It just seems like we're kind of a little bit awash without direction right now, trying to figure out the pieces. We got a wide receiver playing running back. It's just, it's just a lot of question marks for a team that's supposedly, exceptionally talented. So little frustrating, to say the least, to watch and see that. I hope there's a strategy, that we've made a decision to move forward with Trey Lance, and we're making the commitment and starting to build around that. And he's obviously a very, very talented kid, athletic wise. But going to the NFL and playing at that level is a whole different ball game. And the speed of the game and the decisions you have to make just complicate things. So I hope that since we've made that decision, we put him in there to start, that we're going to continue forward with that, and start to build towards something for the future.
Yeah, and outside of the Jimmy G injury, San Fran also struggling with some injuries, and we're talking all year about the NFC West battle royal, and now 5 weeks in, looking like the Cardinals and the Rams kind of separate themselves from the pack. Niners, Russell Wilson now is out 4 to 8 weeks for Seattle, and Geno Smith is the backup there. Not a good sign for Seahawks fans. Something we'll obviously be keeping an eye on as the season continues to progress. So working our way back through our correspondence one more time to get some insight on the local housing markets that they're representing. We'll start once again with Nationwide Mortgage Bankers President Jody Hall. Nationwide's based out of New York. Jody's based out of Cleveland, about 20 minutes from where I live. And Jody, give us a little insight into the Cleveland housing market.
Yeah, so the Cleveland housing market looks great for the zip codes that are specifically Cleveland. The most desirable areas are Lakewood, which is a very trendy area that was, when I was in graduate school, the first place that I lived in the Cleveland area. Houses are below 300,000. Also, Ohio City and Tremont being the closer to downtown areas. The one thing that with the housing market is we continue to have an issue with shortage, and FHFA lifted the restriction on investment properties, which that piece I almost see as a disadvantage for first-time home buyers. What we're seeing in the Columbus and the Cleveland markets are investors coming in and buying up properties that first-time home buyers would typically have available, because we see that the city, or the predictions are, is that the city is going to continue to grow. We believe that technology is going to be the next big market that comes into to Cleveland, and investors are trying to take calculated risk and really take advantage of renters that will be coming into the area that won't have the ability to buy homes in that price range. So we knew that with the pandemic that people were going to move out of cities. Cleveland's had almost the opposite effect. People want to be within walking distance where you have more outdoor and social connectivity. And then also with, industries looking at a very low priced community to come into and to be effective, where you get more bang for your buck in Cleveland and Columbus than in New York City or other larger metropolitan areas, that we're going to thrive for years to come. It's just going to be a matter of who is thriving in the Cleveland market.
Yeah, very well put. And just the issue of institutional investors gobbling up all these properties and renting them. We're seeing a lot of really concerning stats coming out right now, and just rent prices, and obviously hurting the availability of homes for sale. We had a chance, the rundown, the show I do with Rob Krisman on Fridays. We had Bob Brokesmith from MBA on last Friday, and got a chance to get his opinion on those issues. And it's complex. It's a lot of things going on right now in housing that there's no easy answers for. So something that will be interesting to see how it plays out. Moving to Buffalo, New York, and the Buffalo housing market, Jamie Frideris, Bar Harbor, is based out of the Northeast, as are you, but Buffalo near and dear to your heart, as the Bills are. And give us a little update on overview of the Buffalo housing market.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the greater Buffalo and which includes the Niagara market, it's bouncing back. I mean, one of the things about Western New York is we've always remained somewhat insulated against national trends. In fact, if a national trend is short enough, there's a good chance we'll just miss it altogether. The pandemic and the housing trend, this one's definitely had an impact. As we look at the activity and what's going on for the housing market, close year date sales is up 16% over last year. However, based on 2019 numbers, it's actually almost identically within 20 units, the same as 2019. So what we're seeing is, we're seeing some recovery from the 2020 market, where it wasn't necessarily a boom sales market. It was going back to the 2019 levels. Although late in the year, as we've make the turn into the fourth quarter, what we are seeing is, as many of the markets are seeing, we're seeing a run up in average sales price. There's been some significant escalations. In August, the average sales price in the greater Buffalo area was $271,000, which is still very affordable, but it was up significantly, about 19% year over year. Inventories, right now we have inventory of about at 1.6 right now. So we're seeing some pressure on listings. We're seeing some pressure on increasing our inventory market, which is creating some significant bidding wars and really hurting the affordability index. On top of that, employment's also been a big challenge in that space. It has not recovered from the 2019 levels. The only employment segment that's actually up in the greater Buffalo area right now is construction. All our market segments have not recovered from 2019. But with affordability and the opportunity, it's still a great place to own a home with a lot of diverse neighborhoods, urban as well as lake living. So it's still a great opportunity.
Another key issue facing housing, home affordability, and that's right now 30-year fixed rates been in the twos. We start to see some upward movement on rates. Obviously, you're not going to help that picture. And Jamie, thank you for the great update on the Buffalo housing market. Ryan Wiebe delivered a couple excellent updates in the Kansas City housing market in previous shows. What's the latest in the KC market?
Well, it's a little soggy right now, both weather and listings. We still remain constant. We still remain at a less than a 1 month supply. So there's still, like most markets, bidding wars, but we're starting to see a little deflation of the values. The listings are staying on a tiny bit longer. There's still not very many active, but we're starting to see values come down ever so slightly. New housing starts, we're starting to see a little bit more building. New construction's coming in a little bit stronger than it was early in the summer. And, I think it's still pretty consistent. And I'm getting thrown off because they're doing some construction underneath me right now. So it's pretty loud. So I'll skip and go on down the line if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you for the update, Ryan. And moving back to Katie Boss from People's Mortgage Company. Katie, last week you chronicled the Phoenix housing market, which is really if not the hottest housing market in America, one of the top 2 or 3. Give our listeners a little insight as to the Phoenix area housing market.
Yeah, and we're going to get even more people moving there now that we have the best football team in the whole entire United States. So I talked last week, we have the same problems everybody else has seen with affordability. I was saying last week, a lot of our buyers are coming in from California, Seattle, areas where they're paying cash. So we have a lot of first-time pre-qualified buyers who can't find homes. I got an update, and the median sales price in Phoenix for September of 2021 was $405,000. So much higher than what your normal first-time home buyer could get. There is a 20% increase the last 4 weeks in the $400,000 to $800,000 price range. But the luxury home market has apparently been cooling off, which that doesn't really do much for our $1 billion worth of first-time home buyers that are trying to get homes, but it is helping. And then I live in Scottsdale. And so there was an interesting article that actually came out last week that 82% of our workforce does not live in Scottsdale. They commute in from other cities, which I think a lot of cities that have a higher price point have similar issues to that. And the interesting thing about it is there's no local regulations that require people to provide affordable housing or subsidized housing. And interestingly enough, there is right across one of the major intersections from my home, there's a Section 8 housing development that is being talked about being built, and just the opposition that they're facing, even from, the people that live in my neighborhood, it's kind of crazy. I think there's just the stigma of multifamily housing units and, the people that are going to live there, or what it's going to do to your own value of your home, that people just need to be educated and learn that it's not like it's going to ruin the value of our home. It's a totally different type of unit. These people deserve a chance to get in, and, they work here. They provide services to us. They run background checks. There's got to be a bigger push, I think, everywhere in the country, but especially in Scottsdale, where I'm located, to provide more affordable housing to people. So we're still seeing that same issue that everybody else is.
Recurring theme, and thank you, Katie, and TMC podcast team. Make sure to clip that comment about the best team in the NFL, just in case the Cardinals end the year 9-8. We can use that. Bill Massey, Provident Lending Group. San Francisco housing market makes waves and noise for overpriced and high-priced homes, and you give our listeners a little insight as to the Bay Area San Fran housing market.
Yeah, I'm not sure we really understand what affordable is.
What is affordable housing in San Fran?
Well, last time I talked about San Francisco, today I'll talk about the Bay Area in general. The Bay Area, reaching from San Jose all the way up into Marin County, is roughly 3.3 million people. And for the 5th month in a row, the median price housing in the Bay Area has been over $1 million. Last month, it was 1.26 million. So affordable is, certainly not a word that gets tossed around very much, but it hasn't slowed down. In fact, there was, some migration out of the Bay Area when the pandemic hit and people buying other properties and that type of thing, but they seem to be coming back. Homes that come on the market are sitting on the market and get picked up in 8 days with, multiple offers, up to 10 offers on a property. So that market remains strong. I guess it's probably going to continue to remain strong as long as the tech sector is housed and focused in the Bay Area, which seems to be, continuing to be the case. So, everybody keeps waiting for the crash, and they have been basically for 30 years, and it's never happened. So makes for good lending and big loans, which is kind of nice, but a little scary at times.
Thank you, Bill. And I want to thank all of our correspondents this week for coming on the show, many of you for a repeat appearance. And of course, to all of our podcast listeners, added several hundred new subscribers over the course of the last few weeks here, and really appreciate you subscribing to our feed and taking 30 minutes in the early part of the week to listen to Monday Mortgage Quarterback, which will be back every week at 11 a.m. Eastern live. And then, of course, through Apple, Spotify, and also loaded to our YouTube page. So, correspondents, thank you guys very much. Good luck to your teams this week and throughout the rest of the year. And everybody have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Go Brownies.
Bye.
Go Browns.
Go Chiefs.
Bills.